Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Shaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nashtraprayeshu Bhadraishu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhakta Bhavati Nashtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaye Namo Namaha. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Patakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Vishakam Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatade Shatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gotasi Namah Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopaisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna. So thank you all for joining in. We are continuing with our Bhagavad Life program, under which now we are on the 4th canto. We have already discussed the first chapter, and now we're going to start our discussion on chapter 2. So first chapter, as this is a part of the secondary creation, Sarga has been already established and explained in the 3rd canto by Sutta Goswami to Shaunakadi Rishi, or for Sukdev Goswami to Parishit Maharaj. So one thing, if you study and if you pay attention, till the time Sarga was there, problems like Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mad, Matsarya was not addressed or discussed. Probably it wasn't there. But however, the point, the Visarga has been mentioned, those subject matter begin to manifest. So in the first what should I say? The first Manu in the day of Brahma, in which we are, is Swayambhuva Manu. So therefore, the obvious discussion begins. So how does the secondary creation begin? And for secondary creation, Swayambhuva Manu had a very important role to play. Swayambhuva Manu and Satrupa were born from Brahma, and they both procreated 3 daughters, 2 sons. Who remember the names of sons and daughters? Quick. What are the names of sons? Swayambhuva Manu and Uttanapad and Priyavad. And what are the names of daughters? Devhuti, Akuti and Prasuti. Devhuti apparently is the middle, or younger one maybe. Anyways, so these are the 5 kids Swayambhuva Manu and Satrupa had. And then the genealogical discussion began in the first chapter. What happened, to whom did these daughters got married, what about their dynasty, etc. So as we know, Manu, Manvantara, Lord appears in every age of Manu. Like that, through these lineages, why the lineages were described in the first chapter of the fourth canto, just like we read about Atri Muni and Anasuya, one of the lineage, because there the Lord appeared as Dattatreya. Then we also talked about in that same lineage the Lord appearing as Nar Narayan Rishi. So these are the discussions in the first chapter, discussing about how the lineage continued, and in that the discussion comes, Prasuti. So Prasuti got married to Daksha, and they both had together 16 daughters. So that discussion began from 40th verse of the first chapter. And among the 16 daughters, his youngest daughter was Sati. And the chapter ended with verse number 66, says as follows. Text number 66. The reason is that Sati's father, Daksha, used to rebuke Lord Shiva in spite of Shiva's faultlessness. Consequently, before attaining a mature age, Sati gave up her body by dint of yogic mystic power. So, like this, the first chapter ended, where Sutta Goswami informs Shaunaka Rishi that Sati gave up her body. Why? Because husband of Sati, Lord Shiva, was often disrespected by her father Daksha. And now with that, chapter 2 begins. Reading the text 1. Madam Medhavni can be given the sharing right, so she can share. All right. Text number 1. Viduravacha bhave shilvatam shreshte daksho dhut vassalaha vidvesham akarot kasmat anadratyatmajam satim. So this is a conversation happening between Maitri Muni and Vidurji, and Vidurji asked, why was Daksha, who was so affectionate, Dhutir Vassalaha, so affectionate towards his daughter, was envious of Lord Shiva, who is the best among the gentle? Why did he neglect his daughter Sati, as a result of which Sati killed herself? She became so, disgruntled, probably the right word here, in terms of that she couldn't just accept the fact that this body has been given by this Daksha, who has been so insulting to Lord Shiva. She didn't want to have any connection with Daksha, and out of rage, she gave up her body. And that's the storyline begins from chapter 2. So, it's a pretty interesting chapter. Today is the last day of Kartik Maas. I was just thinking on the subject matter. So, this chapter primarily talks about the consequences of uncontrolled anger. What happens when anger knows no bounds, and being consumed by that anger, individuals behave. So, I'm going to have some kind of an exercise during the course of discussion. So, let's begin with that. How many of you have had an experience of being consumed by anger once in a while? I've had experience in the past. How do I see the praja here? So those of you online, if you're kind enough to give your darshan, so I can see who all are there and have some interaction. So how many of you, please raise your hand, how many of you? So just take a pause for 10 seconds. I wanted to recall that situation that you went through, whatever it was, and you busted out of anger. Can you just write down a few things? What happened to you? Or not happened to what happened? What kind of emotions you were running through your mind, and probably what else you spoke. And okay, before you get into it, when you got into that consumed by that anger, how many of you here regretted of what you did under the effect of anger? So you have made some advancement that at least you could realize that you made a mistake. Repentance is a big thing, Just like for Indra to repent for his mistake, it took a long time. And during the course of 1 week, when he was throwing all tantrums, when he was doing everything to destroy Vrindavan, he realized way before. Can you imagine you're trying to fight with somebody who you call as a child and who have decided to convince everyone in the village not to worship you, and then you ask Samvartaka cloud to destroy Vrindavan, and that's what is happening. The whole Vrindavan is flooded. Not even a single creature has been disturbed by it. And here Krishna, everyone takes shelter of a child Krishna, who was 7-year-old, is a child. And that Krishna have lifted Govardhan. Do you think Indra was so foolish he wouldn't have understood what's going on here? But out of his false ego, to defend his false ego, he continued attempting to prove that he's right, this is wrong. It's not that after 7 days he realized. 7 days after the 7 days, he got convinced of his foolishness. It took 7 days, long day to understand that. Wasn't it in the beginning you would understood? How is it possible? And then every day is getting reports. All the clouds are getting exhausted and tired. We can't do anything. We're exhausted. We have exhausted all our might. And eventually, therefore, Indra said, I'll do it now. And then he came with thunderbolt, trying to throw thunderbolt at the mountain. And the objective in the beginning was to flood whole Vrindavan, destroy whole Vrindavan. The objective then eventually turned into somehow shake Govardhan on the tiny finger of Krishna. Can you imagine, from such a lofty objective of destroying Vrindavan, from where did he ended up? Somehow I just want to shake Govardhan. So Indra thought that would be a great success for me. So if you have reflected on that, so that means, or if you have repented on that mistake, that's a big sign. All right, so going back to it, can you just quickly write down a few thoughts about it? When you were consumed by anger, what was going on? I was having a burning sensation. I wanted to kill somebody. I wanted to use as much as abusive language I could. Or if you were a WWE fan, I was remembering Undertaker choke slam. I wanted to give a choke slam to the other person. Whatever was it, your thoughts. So, I was quoting this verse today morning also. So this particular chapter is on the subject matter of, what leads to anger. What leads to anger is false ego. And what one can do under the influence of anger, which result into counter cursing between the followers of Lord Shiva and Daksha, and how a devotee, quote unquote pure devotee here in that context, responds to such a situation. These are the main subject matter. Rest all is a storyline. So I'll go with this theme better. That'll be more appropriate. So Srila Prabhupada, in his commentary to first verse of Upadeshamrita, Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jivva Vegam Udarupashta Vegan, Etan Vegan, Yuvisheheta Dhiraha, Sarvamapimam Prathvim Tashishyat. So Prabhupada, before concluding his commentary and starting the commentary of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, because he didn't specifically mention about Krodha, Prabhupada mentions, he speaks about Krodha. And Prabhupada says, it's a different way to deal with Krodha. I'm paraphrasing Prabhupada's words. Prabhupada says, Krodha cannot be entirely controlled, but can be dovetailed. Lust, greed, all these things can be withheld, but Krodha cannot be. Krodha needs to be engaged. And there, while describing that, Prabhupada quotes Tranadapi Sunichena Tarurapi Sahishnuna Amanidena Manadena Kirtanya Sadahari. Setting this as a foundation, Prabhupada says, therefore, devotee never gets angry for himself or for oneself, but he will utilize anger when he sees the Lord or the devotees are being offended. And then Srila Prabhupada gives an example of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu getting angry at Jagai Madhai, Arjuna getting angry at Kauravas, Hanuman getting angry at Ravana. And Prabhupada says, do you think it is possible to fight a war without becoming angry? So if in case they were angry, what is the difference between their anger and a common anger, driven by passion, lower modes, not even passion, ignorance? So Prabhupada says, yes, so anger can be used. So, however, in the case of Indra or in the case of Prajapati Daksha, they didn't utilize anger as a service. They got consumed by their anger. And that brings a very important lesson for us. And Srimad Bhagavatam is filled with many such instances and case studies where there is a sudden outburst by an individual, anger. I had asked you a question, right? To write down the emotion that you were running through. All of you have done that exercise? Some of you have written. How many of you acknowledge they were totally negative emotions? Totally useless. It does not behoove to a Vaishnava. Okay. Now I'm going to make a point. Let's see if it makes sense to you or not. How many of you acknowledge and agree that outburst of anger was primarily driven by because my false ego was hurt? How many of you agree with that? How many of you realized? Which means there are a lot for us to when it comes to applying Shastra. Tranadapi sunichena taropi sahishnuna manidena mandena kirtanya sadari. Our false ego was brushed and which just could not tolerate. It's not so easy. It can take a long time. It can take a long time. Let me give you an example. Imagine, let's say as a devotee, you have started something, you have started some project, but now a complaint has come about you in your engagement and involvement in that project, and you have been asked to step down or else give up your leadership role, exclusive leadership role, and create a committee, team. Now the team will make a decision rather than you make a decision. Now, all of you sitting here, you may say, yes, what's the big deal? Because you are not in that situation, but try to put yourself in a situation. If you have worked for it, you have raised fund, you have cultivated people, and you are set, you are going to be the next acharya for this community. Attachments build up naturally, subtly, it always happens. And Krishna has his own way, subtly. Just Krishna wanted to humble Indra by stopping the worship of Indra. Similarly, Lord has a way to stop worship of a leader by encouraging leader. Now he's not the only one. Let's focus on the team. He can manage it. So in that situation, how would an individual act? And time and again, it is seen it's not easy. The individual, if the recent case study I have, I'm not going to name it, and the individual was recommended that you please leave the role of a leader. You continue serving, you continue guiding, you be a teacher, but don't be a leader. He just could not agree. He just could not agree. And then it went to WIDC, then it went to IAC, then it went to GBC. He went everywhere. And everyone said the decision which is made by the temple authorities is correct. Cannot. What can you do next? If everyone is telling you you're not correct, you're wrong, but yet person continues to defend himself, what is the meaning of it? Right now we are in a cool-headed situation. At least we can analyze now. If you are in that situation, that's going to be so damn tricky and difficult. Only God can save us that time. But now at this situation, how many of you say, it's just a false ego? Yes. Driven by that false ego, it can take you to such an extent, he took all his people away from him. He left ISKCON. He left ISKCON and he's somewhere running his centers and all that. So once a leader called him, okay, Prabhu, please come and meet. It has been months and a year together. Let's come and talk about what's going on. And then again the leader began to speak to him, Prabhu, the most important thing for a devotee is the shelter of Guru. You walked away from the shelter of Guru. Most important thing for a devotee is the association of Vaishnavas. You walked away from the association of Vaishnavas. The most important thing for a devotee is to please Guru and Krishna. We have come here to please Guru and Krishna. You walked away from that. You're doing your own thing. You've started your own enterprise. You walked away from it. You know what was the response? That's the reason you have called me for it? You're wasting my time. I thought you called me up to hear my story and give everything back to me. I can tell you this is not once. This is so repetitive. This is so repetitive. And those who are very strongly and closely driven by false ego, they need to really sit back Again, I have been emphasizing lately a lot, journal writing. You cannot make any progress. Of course, I believe maybe in the upcoming youth class I'll speak on the steadiness. I haven't spoken on steadiness recently, right? I was thinking of it. This is from Shuddha Bhakti Chintamani. I'll speak on that. There is an external steadiness where there is a Pakka morning program attendance, Guru Puja, Darshan, everything, and sadhana, seva, everything. That's external. Actual steadiness, which Vishnacharya Thakur described, is in three factors: steadiness of mind, speech, and actions. Mind, abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasana. This is Bhagavad Gita 8 chapter verse number 8. Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasana. So, which means your mind will not wander on anything else. Knowing Krishna to be Supreme Personality Godhead, yathi parthanuchintayan, your mind will always focus on Krishna. So that's what steadiness, your mind does not. What does it mean when Krishna says, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmaridyacha mayarpata manubuddhir mam eveshya samshaya. Remembering Krishna doesn't mean just remembering Krishna's pastimes. That's going to happen way later on. Don't artificially impose certain things on your consciousness. That I'm going to remember the form of the Lord. I'm going to Guna Rupa Nam Lila is going to happen. That's going to happen way later on. Prior to that, what has to happen? What we need to remember? Instructions. What we need to remember is instructions. How many of us can really put our hand and heart and say, how much do we remember instructions? First of all, how much we have understood instructions? False ego is such a tricky subject matter, which we'll see clearly in this case study of Daksha here. Bear with me, I'll take some time to set up a theme. I may not necessarily go into the chapter, but it's important subject matter, so I'm spending some time here. Now, false ego is such a tricky thing. The one who was a loyal follower tomorrow will become a stark enemy of the same leader. The one who had been a loyal follower will become a stark enemy tomorrow. So, as growing up sadhakas and Vaishnavas, I humbly request you all, particularly those in Brahmachari ashram and those who are in leadership roles, because you have a lot of close association with leadership, extremely important for you to begin introspection. What we see in the case of Daksha, when Daksha became angry and when he was cursing Lord Shiva, Srila Vishnacharya Thakur, to the text number 18 purport, he mentions, text number 18 or something, he mentions, it appears Lord Brahma and everyone else there was trying to pacify Daksha, telling him there is no purpose to be angry. Why are you angry? He did not hear to anyone. Daksha was Brahmaji's son, and so does Lord Shiva. He did not hear to anyone. So much so of even of Brahma, not only his father, Brahma, for every one of them is the the Supreme Personality, Bhagavan in that sense, not the father-son relationship of Kali Yuga, father-son relationship that time of Brahma, the best of the sage, best of everything. He did not even hear to Brahma. So we have to be careful. The nature of our mind, I believe I quoted right now, right? Kama manir madhulova shoka moha bhayapaha karma bandhas chayan mulha sikuryat kona tadbuddhe. So mind, yan mulha is the root of karma. Manir refers to anger. Lust, anger, pride, greed, shoka, lamentation, moha, illusion, bhaya, fear. The root of it is mind. How many of us can really agree and raise your hand and say that I've really analyzed my mind and I've identified these defects in my mind? How many of us have consciously realized these defects with your mind? Please raise your hand. How many of us have realized these defects with other Vaishnavas? How many of us? How many of you agree? Kamo manyar madoloba. He is greedy, he is proud, he is angry, he is fearful. How many of us have realized these defects with others? Please raise your hand. if you have only realized with others but not with oneself, you are in an extremely dangerous position. An extremely dangerous position. Don't take the subject matter lightly as Bhagavatam. And this is not the one story that is coming. The first canto begins with that story. The Bhagavatam begins with this story. What was the foundation of Bhagavatam? Shringi Karsing, Parikshit Maharaj. This is the foundation of Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam started with this. Shringi Karsing, Parikshit Maharaj. Then third canto, Duryodhana Karsing, Vidura. Then the ninth canto, our Durvasa Muni Karsing, Ambrish Maharaj. Case study after case study Srimad Bhagavatam is talking about. What are you learning about it? What are we understanding from it? Going through all these case studies. I don't have the verse. Can you please open first canto, 19th chapter? Or Mother Medhavi, please go ahead and open if you are sharing, whoever is sharing. First canto, 19th chapter, verse number 4. Before we go to that, let me ask this question. And we'll see that in Shiva's response here also. I'll tell you what Shiva responded. Imagine if somebody gets angry at you and you know that you are at fault, then your false ego can to some extent tolerate that. Yes or no? ठीक है यार, गलती मेरी भी थी. इतना तो हमारा advancement हो गया है. We have made at least this much advancement in spiritual life. At least when I realize it's my mistake, then I am willing to tolerate criticism. Are you willing to tolerate criticism when you are not at fault? Write down. How would you react? How would you react? How would you react if you have been corrected and chastised or maybe criticized if you are not at fault? How many of you say that my first response will be justification? Justification is the entry point to your false ego. The moment you take shelter of justification, we're just defending our false ego. We're so much consumed by the lower modes of consciousness that we're not able to understand. If a first response is justification, I'm not saying justification and clarification is two separate things. You know, in a conversation, there's an opportunity to be given to the other party. And even if in that point of time, if the other party is not willing to listen, then we have got to listen. And then wait for an opportunity to clarify our situation. And there are different means to clarify. You can write an email. Prabhuji, I acknowledge your anger, but these are the things that I would like to let you know as a background. And now if you think I'm wrong, I accept it. Now if you say in that way, you're not justifying and protecting your false ego. But if you communicate saying that I did not do anything, you don't understand me, this and that, what is this? We are just functioning on false ego. Now you may not act like Daksha because you might not have that caliber or status in the society. But at the heart, if you acknowledge and if you remember any situation like that, we will be dancing like Daksha. Internally. We will be so angry, so aghast. We'll be saying so many things. But externally we'll be creating a persona that Prabhuji. So therefore it's extremely important for a sadhaka to regularly introspect. And write, how is my consciousness? What happens when I get angry? And if I get angry, am I protecting my false ego? Please don't get settled with this idea. If I just continue chanting, everything will work out. Another Leela, this Kartik Mas, you can see that Yashoda and Krishna behind you. The very important lesson that comes from this pastime is 2-finger shot. What is the idea of 2-finger 2 shot? A constant endeavor. That attracts mercy. What is our endeavor when we say we are chanting? It is more of a commitment that we have taken upon ourselves to remain alive in bhakti. Yes or no? Where does Srila Rupa Goswami says in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which Srila Prabhupada writes as a law book for ISKCON devotees and for devotees all around? Where does he say, just chant 16 rounds, you'll get Raganuga Bhakti? Anywhere? What does Rupa Goswami says? What needs to be done to get to Raganuga Bhakti? What is that one word that he uses? What does Lalya means? Lalya is Kripa. What does Lalya means? What does greed means? Constant endeavor to improve. Constant endeavor to serve. What is our endeavor? Our endeavor is, because the morning program has been organized around us, so that much is our endeavor. What do we do after morning program? How much are we serving? Again, I'm coming back to brahmacharis now. After morning program is there, rest of the day is for ourselves. What are we doing? How much are we engaged? That is going to take us forward, not your morning program alone. Morning program is going to keep you alive in spiritual life. But what you do in other hours will going to help you make progress. So that is the meaning of lalyam. That is the meaning of greed. And that is what this Yashoda Damodar pastime indicates. Endeavor. Consistent endeavors. So my question to all of you here is, because we're talking about consciousness here, how many of us are regularly aware of our consciousness? How many of us are actually documenting our changing consciousness as we are progressing day by day? How many of us have a track of what was my consciousness a month ago and what it is today? Or we are only conscious of the consciousness of others? So much of our mind is absorbed in thinking about this fellow said this to me, that fellow did this to me. We cannot forget about them. And given an opportunity, impromptu lecture can be given for 2 hours about their glories. Our mind have fully analyzed the character of so and so individuals who we felt have offended us. Yes or no? How many of you agree? How many of you agree? Please raise your hand. Our mind have done full 100% analysis. And how many of you agree, if given a chance and a forum is created here, Aparad Forum. We are having Bhagavat live program and we create Aparad Forum. Now come and commit as many Aparad you are allowed. I can tell you, Abhi, right now we have 37 devotees online and some here. We have around 60 odd devotees here. We'll have 200, 300 fellows. If an opportunity given to express your aparad, aparad means express your thoughts about anyone, say whatever you want, nothing going to happen. There will be a competition. Who gets to speak today? How many of you agree? आज मुझे मौका मिलेगा आपकी मन की बात कहने का. आज मैं बताऊंगा उस व्यक्ति को तू है कौन. वो बता रहे जिसको खुद नहीं पता कि वो है कौन. This is what false ego does to us. And that is what is happening to Daksha. Daksha was not happy with the idea that my daughter would get married to Shiva. And why was he not happy? Because Daksha thought, ये शिवा, ये कौन है? ये कोई भी नहीं है, but फिर भी everyone gives respect to him. More respect to him than I. False ego is ultimately the battle of respect, na? When in case in our consciousness we have developed an idea, he is not a good man. Can we accept others giving respect to him? Yes or no? Can we tolerate that? And what to speak of when he gets more respect than you? That is impossible. Yes or no? And that was building up in Daksha. On top of it, Brahmaji said, get your daughter married to Lord Shiva, which Daksha was not willing to. There is no reasons mentioned how Daksha agreed, but at least he agreed. Now he agreed, then he thought he got another ammunition in his aparad-filled consciousness. Are this Shiva? By the way, he's born before than Daksha, okay? Now this Shiva, useless. On top of it, he's my son-in-law. So I'm father-in-law. So as a father, I'm on a senior position. And the culture in those days would be that when you wake up in the morning, you touch your feet of father. When elder comes, you get up from your position. That was a culture. And this is right in the beginning of the creation, this kind of yajna, the first yajna. This is first yajna of the creation has been performed. Everyone is there, Lord Shiva is present and Daksha enters. Everyone gets up except for 2 people. Who do you think should not get up when Daksha enters? The father, the guru. In case of Daksha, father and guru both was Brahmaji. And who did not get up, which was not acceptable to Daksha, was Lord Shiva. Everyone got up. This is the beauty of false ego. The false ego would not allow you to appreciate what you have received. False ego will only keep pinning and telling you, ye nahi hai, ye nahi hai, ye nahi hai. Out of 100 things, if one thing is not there, your mind will be only focusing on that one thing. And 99 things that you receive for which you're not qualified even to receive, your false ego will reject it. Yes or no? And therefore, Sundaranath Maharaj often makes a point, be grateful, cultivate gratitude. How do you cultivate gratitude? Okay, write down this. Let's do a quick exercise. I would like to know from all of you. What is the strategy? How do you cultivate gratitude? Because the antidote for this is gratitude. Antidote for envy is gratitude. Antidote for false ego, we can say, is gratitude. Although that is humility, that's opposite to that. But I'm just saying antidote. How do you cultivate gratitude? I want all of you to think and give me some answer. We speak about it, we have heard about it. What does it mean? How do we cultivate gratitude? Let's churn it, and I'm pretty sure all of you will have some fantastic points to say. And one of you can make note. Mother Madhavni, you're quick at it. If possible, you can make some notes of what devotee says, and we can share, because that could be some valuable thing for everyone to refer to it. All right, let's hear. We have a hand up from Blue Ridge. Please go ahead. Quickly. Raise your hands and start speaking. Yes.
So, Guruji, as you mentioned that we should maintain a journal and we should write down whatever one does good for you.
Okay, so first thing, regularly recognizing the contribution of the devotees in our life by writing it. So we should have a gratitude journal. So how many of us here have gratitude journal? Anyone? So first point failed. So Sagar Prabhu, Vishwakaran, you have? Even you don't have. He's giving a point for us to do it. He doesn't need it.
Yeah, I want to apply, that's why.
Actually, you want to apply? Okay. So I'll ask you a week later. I'll see your gratitude journal. To whom all have you expressed gratitude? Okay. Where are online participants? Should I see them? Okay, leave it. I'll just continue with those whose cameras are on. I'll interact with them. Okay. What about others here? How do we cultivate gratitude? Yes, Ravindra Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, by glorifying his contribution.
By glorifying. Okay, so let me ask to all of you, how often do we get that opportunity? How often we take an opportunity to glorify Vaishnavas? For that, we at least create a system. बर्थडे के दिन तो उस नमूने को ग्लोरीफाई कर दो कम से कम. बिठाओ चेयर पे, उस पे डालो गार्लैंड और बैठो जबरदस्ती. अब सुनो, नहीं बोलना है तो कम से कम सुनो तो सही. And isn't it? It's amazing. All of us are staying together. Don't we know each other? I've always repeatedly noticed. Then you ask devotees, how many would like to share? At the max, only 5 to 6 hands raised. बाकी सबको क्या हो गया? अकाल पड़ा हुआ है तुम्हारे हृदय में, जो सामने वाले के लिए कुछ अच्छा नजर नहीं आ रहा. Have you noticed that? Because I'm generally the organizer, and I'm like, what is this? In fact, everyone should raise hand. And it should be a challenge for me to pick it up. And how many times I say, okay, I will not ask the same devotee to repeat. Let another devotee. Some devotees have nothing to say. In such a dried out heart, when we cannot have any appreciation, we cannot see good in others, how can we have a seed of bhakti fructify? We're talking about glorifying Krishna. How is it possible? We have become like a stuff or dried up bamboo which can break at any point of time. Anyways, Krishna knows how to turn bamboo into fruit and create a nice note also. He'll fix it. But think about it. Okay? Glorify. What else? How do we cultivate gratitude? So the principle is, okay, the mother is saying, again, so many Vaishnavas have contributed in our life, but that's what false ego does. It keeps on telling us, you are a self-made man. किस वैष्णव ने क्या करा है? Who did what? You are a self-made. You are a self-made. This is such a sorry state. So unless you maintain a gratitude journal, unless you take opportunity to express gratitude. It will not happen. Why we have the concept of Vyas Puja? Why we have the culture of celebrating Srila Prabhupada's Vyas Puja? Take a day in at least a year to think about and say, oh, what all Prabhupada have done. At least it is due for glorifying Prabhupada, because we read Prabhupada books, we sing Prabhupada's glories every day. In fact, there is a lot of social pressure on to us. You wish or not glorify Prabhupada now because of social pressure. At least even if not, you start doing it, some change will come into our consciousness. Then for Guru, then for Vaishnavas who are helping us, how much we do it. And if we don't do it, we are drying up. We are drying up ourselves. So 2-3 things have come up, to write gratitude journal, to tell the devotee, express to that devotee. And the third thing which I would say, again Mother Madam was speaking in relation to the first point, the third thing is to show with your seva. To show with your seva. Your service attitude itself is an indication, where you serve not out of duty, you serve out of gratitude. That means priti. Arey, aapne itna sab kuch kara hai. Yes, sir. Whatever you say, I shall do it, because you have done so much for us. There is no question for me to say no. Even it's going to be inconvenient for me, I'm going to adjust myself and I'm going to do it. No excuses. Otherwise, there's no meaning of expressing gratitude. It becomes empty words. Therefore, Maharaj says, which means practical action. Just like bhakti means practical action, gratitude means that should turn into seva. So there's some of the points into this gratitude point. So Daksha had none of it. That's not the question here. Well, Daksha's heart was totally dried up for Lord Shiva, and when he saw Lord Shiva not getting up, everyone have gotten up. Everyone is giving respect. We may wonder, no, what's the big deal here? Everyone giving respect. Rejoice, enjoy. Nah. And nobody's not that somebody's coming and complaining to Daksha, hey, this is an insult for you, Shiva didn't got up. Nobody's saying. He himself is getting so hurt. And out of that hurt, he cursed Lord Shiva. He chastised Lord Shiva. That's what the chapter says. He chastised Lord Shiva. I can give you the summary. That will be quick. And you can all read out the chapter by yourself what he said. So, let's at least give you a little overview of the chapter also. You can read it yourself. I'm just going to give you some summary. For summary, I'm referring to His Grace Purijan Prabhu's book, Unveiling the Lotus Feet, by the courtesy of Padma Govind Prabhu and Madan Sundar. She gifted me this. So I'll just read out the summary which is mentioned here. So I've given you a lot of explanation. Let's take a look at Srila Prabhupada's purport to Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, 2nd chapter, verse number 4, talks about what was happening. It was a great sacrifice performed by the leaders of the universal creation, namely Marichi, Daksha and Vashishta. These great personalities arranged for a great sacrifice, for which demigods like Indra, fire gods assembled with their followers, Lord Brahma, Shiva were also present. So this was the whole setup. And then the story continues like this. And text number 9 to 12 explains, Daksha noticed Lord Shiva's apparent neglect. Mera damad utha nahi. Feeling the sting of insult and disrespect, his eyes glowing with anger, he said, all sages, brahmanas, fire gods present, please hear me with attention. Please, all of you hear with attention what Daksha is saying. For I speak about the manners of gentle persons. I do not speak out of ignorance or envy. So as I said, what does false ego do? First thing is justification. He's doing justification. As I said, if you have been criticized or chastised or corrected in whatever way, our first immediate response is, don't do it, stop doing it. You're not making improvement. Nip it in the bud. Keep your mouth shut. Hear it first. And then when it is done, then if you're asked, express or express later on. So he's giving a justification. And he says, Shiva has spoiled the name and fame of the governors of the universe. What did Lord Shiva do? Only the beautiful eye is bedecked, not with love. With the envy for Lord Shiva can think and say, Shiva has spoiled the name. And has polluted the path of gentle manners because he is shameless. He does not know how to act. He has already accepted himself as my subordinate by marrying my daughter in the presence of fire and brahmanas. Now the problem is coming out. He is my junior. He has married my daughter who is equal to Gayatri. and has pretended to be just like an honest person. He is just like an honest person. And you know what he says now? He has eyes like monkey, yet he has married my daughter, whose eyes are just like those of a deer cub. You analyze, look at the little psychology of what's going on here. First he said, I am about to speak about the conduct of gentle people. Whatever I'm about to say, please do not think I'm speaking out of envy. This guy is a rascal. He's shameless. He looks so ugly. Despite that ugly looks, he has married my beautiful daughter. He's so shameless. You're getting a point? What the father is saying? Can you imagine how insulting it is? Imagine hypothetically in future something like that had to happen to you. Imagine. Father-in-law, your Pujaniya father-in-law says, this monkey has married my beautiful swan. तुम अपने को आईने में कभी दोबारा देख नहीं पाओगे. बोले मेरे पिताजी ने मुझे मंकी बोला और मेरी पत्नी को स्वान में इतना बदसूरत हूं. Like that, Daksha is criticizing. This is not a personal private conversation, huh? This is a public discourse, wherein even Shiva is not a disciple of Daksha, where he has a right to chastise. This is not chastisement, this is criticism. In chastisement, you don't go to the bodily features. You talk about the attitude. Whew. Nevertheless, he did not stand up to receive me, nor did he think to fit to welcome me with sweet words. Now उसकी अब बात आ रही है. What he wanted? उठना था, बोलना था, आ गए आप पिताजी. मन कितना आनंदित हुआ आपका दर्शन लेकर. आपके विरह में बड़ा अकेलापन लग रहा था. आइए विराजिए. This is what Daksha is expecting, I don't know. He said two things. He did not get up and he did not welcome with sweet words. Okay, because he did not welcome in these sweet words, so I have the right to speak sweet words now. So Daksha is utilizing that opportunity. And text number 17 and 18 mentions Daksha's curse to Lord Shiva. Thus, Daksha, seeing Lord Shiva sitting as if against him. And the beauty here is, have you had that experience if you are angry with somebody and you exhibit your anger and सामने वाला total ignore मार दे आपको? How much agitating you would be. You are so angry and that fellow is not even paying attention to you. And Lord Shiva has no clue what's happening outside. We'll get to know why Lord Shiva had no clue later on in the 3rd chapter. Even Sati was surprised. I said, why did you open your eyes? My father was cursing you. You should have opened your eyes. He said, I even didn't knew what was happening. And can you imagine how Daksha would have become so angry? So Daksha becomes angry, seeing that despite all these things, Shiva is still continuing to sit. And then he thought, okay, he deserves punishment. Not only words, but he deserves punishment. Because despite my criticizing, cursing him, he's not getting up. So he washed his hand. He's a son of Brahma, means all are Brahmanas here, you know. Brahmanas are fighting. The first fight happened between Brahmanas. Thus Daksha, seeing Lord Shiva sitting as if against him, washed his hands, mouth, and cursed him in the following words. The demigods are eligible to share in the oblations of sacrifice, but Lord Shiva, who is the lowest of all the demigods, should not have a share. Text number 17 and 18. And in text number 19, Prabhupada writes, in his purport to text 19, Prabhupada warns readers not to succumb to anger. Prabhupada writes, anger is so detrimental that even a great personality like Daksha, out of anger, left the arena when Brahma was presiding and all the great sages and pious and saintly persons were assembled. All of them requested not to leave. But infuriated, he left, thinking that the auspicious place was not fit for him. And just an FYI, this host yajna was organized by Daksha only. It was his idea. The host left the party. And the interesting thing was, party continued. That we'll see later on. So he said, no, I cannot be there. Prabhupada is puffed up by his exalted position. Now Daksha definitely had an exalted position. He was Prajapati. He was given the service to procreate. I'm not going into details, that's a homework for all of you to read. Otherwise, we'll discuss that part of Bhakti Vaibhava, Bhakti Pravesh program as you're doing. When Daksha entered the assembly, it was as if Surya Devta entered. So effulgent. Everyone out of respect got up for Daksha, not only as a matter of duty. Looking at the tej and effulgence of Daksha, yeah, koi to aaya hai. Everyone got up like this, as much as Bhragumani got up. No Bhragumani? मूछे वाला ब्राह्मण जिसकी मूछों काट दी गई थी फर्स्ट टाइम में आगे. एंड व्हाट एज भृगुमुनि यू नो अबाउट? द वन हु टेस्टेड who is the supreme. Yeah, Bhagavatam. Anyways, so that personality was also there. He thought that no one was greater than him. Then it appears that all the members of the assembly, including Lord Brahma, requested him not to be angry. This is Vishnu Chakra Thakur, and leave their company. But in spite of all this request, he left. That is the effect of cruel anger. And what happens after that? I guess I'd like to continue this discussion because this brings us to a second part of discussion. I'll give a clue to it. Please remind me next time. What happens next is another serious problem for all of us, where you may say that I had nothing to do with that. I did not curse anyone. I did not commit an aparat to anyone. But being part of that environment, every individual also get contaminated. So it is not enough for us to safeguard ourselves by saying that I don't find faults, I don't criticize others. But do you hear faults? But do you hear criticism? It is almost as same as criticizing others. Let me tell you this, what happens in the second, and please remind me of this. We'll discuss at length. So, because everyone was assembled who heard Daksha's words and nobody prevented Daksha from speaking those. So, we have discussed in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu what to do when criticism happens. He says, Srila Rupa Goswami says, he says, either you close your ears, you commit suicide. No. Either you close your ears, you walk away, or you cut the tongue of that fellow. Three things. You cut the tongue of that fellow, don't do that, that'll be too much. Otherwise, you'll be called as terrorist. आजकल वैसे भी ISKCON को terrorist कहने में लगे हैं कुछ प्रजा. Second thing, you close your ears, don't hear. Vishnu, 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 Vishnu. Or third, walk away. In the case of the Brahmana, it didn't happen. They heard. And because they heard, they got equally affected and brought at the level of consciousness of Daksha. So you may not be the one who is instigating, but you're rejoicing hearing. Therefore, as when you meet with each other, we should be very careful. Don't allow any fool to keep on giving an opportunity to him to keep speaking ill about other Vaishnavas. Because when he's speaking ill about other Vaishnavas, primarily based on false ego. When somebody has to tell you about faults of others, tell him, Prabhu, I'm willing to hear. First, you tell me 5 faults within you. Then I'll hear the fault in other Vaishnava. And then when he is able to give you 5 faults, then you ask him second question. Prabhu, thank you. But what will I gain hearing about him? So I don't want to hear, I'll leave. You humble him and you walk away. Never lend your ears to hearing others. And this will happen a lot, particularly when you have a senior and junior relationship. At times, junior will come with this kind of thing, so be careful. It can really affect everyone. Or when you're guiding others, be careful of that. You have to be smart enough how to handle and how to allow that devotee to really introspect. I'm not saying continue tolerating others' faults, but okay. So we'll discuss that, and this is what happens in the later chapter. Everyone got affected, the whole environment got contaminated, everyone began to curse. Brahmanas had nothing to do with Daksha. Lord Shiva's followers had nothing to do with Daksha. And Lord Shiva's followers had nothing to do with Brahmana. Here, Lord Shiva's followers, headed by Nandi, he cursed Brahmanas. And Brahmana says, how dare you? And Brahmana cursed Shiva's followers. Now there was nothing of Brahmanas and followers of Lord Shiva. It was involving whom? Which of the two parties? There were not even two parties, there was only one party, Daksha. Even Lord Shiva had nothing against Daksha. So if Daksha criticized Shiva, Why followers of Nandi and Brahmanas are fighting? It is not that the Brahmanas were favoring Daksha, not that Brahmanas have stood to defend Daksha. Nothing happened. This is what happens. This is what happens. So dangerous. This is a very profound subject matter, and I'm kind of this is just some spontaneous thoughts on this topic because I've repeatedly seen this crisis in any community and every community and the lives of the Vaishnavas. This a classic imitation of Daksha personality happens, and then classic imitation of that situation happens, where we keep hearing, and then we fight with each other. The person who did it, he went away, and the rest of the praja fights like this. So that's the point here. So just to summarize our discussion for here today, we'll open for some question answer if you have any. So the point that we're talking today here, the only thing that we touched upon today is the reasons for anger. What is the reason of anger? First of all, we talked about what anger is. We quoted Nectar of Instruction. Prabhupada says, anger cannot be restricted, but anger has to be dovetailed. And what is the principle of dovetailing? The principle of dovetailing anger is Trinadapi Sunicha. Unless we are rooted in that consciousness, we will not be able to use anger in the service of the Lord. Anger have to be used in the service means we don't get angry for oneself, but we get angry for when Vaishnavas are criticized, when Lord is offended. An example was Hanumanji, Arjuna, etc. And Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu getting angry at Jagai and Madai. That was the first point. Now, how does generally anger manifest? It manifests out of one's false ego. Then as you probably ask your question, how many of you have had a reflection of becoming angry? And what were your emotions? Were it violent? Were it negative? And that's how this anger is so detrimental for a practitioner, spiritual practitioner. It can really destroy one's consciousness. And how many of us repented after that? Many of you said you repented. I said that's a good thing. At least we realized that we didn't have to really become that angry because it was so detrimental for us. And now we have a classic case study in Bhagavatam, beginning with Shrangi Parikshit. That's how Bhagavatam started. That's what was the basis of Bhagavatam. That eventually led to Bhagavatam. Then with Duryodhana versus Vidura, Ambrish, the Durvasa Muni versus Ambrish Maharaj. And now we have a case study of Lord Shiva, the Durvasa Muni versus Lord Shiva, driven by false ego. And Durvasa, having no faults of Lord Shiva, he assumed faults in Lord Shiva. We all have our perceptions. We can create perception. He created perception. This is untouchable. He doesn't dress properly. He doesn't take bath altogether for months together. Whatever. He's dirty, filthy. He had that idea about Lord Shiva. On top of it, he thought, now Lord Shiva needs to respect me because I'm his father-in-law. And it was very troubling for him to see that others are respecting him more than even him when he's so nice, effulgent, glowing, so neat and clean, following proper Brahmanical standard, which Lord Shiva apparently didn't look like to him. Because of having that perceptions, Lord Shiva, who is Ashutosh, who is even the well-wisher of the ghost, hobgoblins and whatnot, he became an object of envy of Daksha. And Daksha, to justify his anger, the Daksha to protect his anger, what did he say? Justification. I am not envious. I am well-wisher. He has spoiled our assembly. So false ego, the person acting on false ego, the first thing is that person justifies. He will not listen. He or she will not listen. If in that case happens, don't speak to that person only. He is useless. If somebody is so much rooted in false ego, you let him sit and chant, because whatever you say, nothing going to happen to him. Nothing going to happen to him. I've gone through the whole experiences. I've realized for such individuals, there is no point of even giving correction. There is no point. Correction to be given to those who are willing to accept correction and those who are happy accepting correction. Otherwise, why you don't want to waste your energy and time? It doesn't serve a purpose at all. So, if at the end of the day everything will be justified, oh no, I did this. So let them go through with their process of purification. And Krishna would not leave. Krishna will humble, like Indra. Indra didn't ask for it, but Lord Shri Krishna created a situation by cancelling Indra's worship. Similarly, I was given an example of a leader who probably had become too attached to his position of being a one-pointed leader, one single-handed leader. And Krishna created a situation where leadership role was taken and he couldn't tolerate it. So there's no alternative to it. There's no alternative to it. We all have to go through. We have subjected ourselves for purification. And we have given the right to Krishna, Guru and Gauranga, and things will manifest in our life. You know, and eventually that individual left ISKCON. Similarly, brahmacharis leave ashram. Similarly, grihastha leave community. The idea is, I quit. And therefore, I so often say, whatever happens, never say I quit. Never say I quit. Never say I quit. The I quit only happens at the level of false ego. Now, you look at, of course, Parishad Maharaj said, I quit, but that is not I quit in that context. He quitted his material responsibility and decided to take wholehearted shelter of the Lord. What did he say? What did he quit to? He quitted to all kind of mundane vibrations. Amrish Maharaj, what did he do? He took shelter. Vidura, he quit the kingdom. No, he may have, but what did he do? He took shelter of Krishna. Parishad Maharaj took shelter of Krishna. And here Lord Shiva was anyways sheltered in Krishna. He was absorbed in Samadhi. So that's not called as quitting. That's taking shelter. Quitting means quitting Vaishnava Sangha. That's what means quitting. Going away from Vaishnava Sangha, thinking that other Sangha will be better, this and that. You may go anywhere. The problem is within you. You're taking your problem with you. How does anything will change? Nothing will change like that. So that was a point about that how false ego functions. And of course, all of us would have had an experience through the practice of bhakti, and most importantly, serving together. We all would have gone through a lot of purification. We all would have had already by now so many heartburns. Now we have become far much more flexible in it. Yes or no? We don't get so itchy and pricky on every small issue as we were in before. इसने मेरा कैसे नहीं सुना? कोई बात नहीं, यही नहीं सुना, मैं भी तो नहीं सुनता. A realization होना शुरू हो जाता है. You know, like he's not hearing to his manager. I was back also to the manager. थोड़ा realization dawn होना शुरू हो जाता है, and that's how individual becomes settled. And the last point I can conclude with: what is the response, ideal response of a devotee? Madam Davani, can you please go to 1 Canto 19th chapter, verse number 4? A very beautiful verse that actually gives the response. And we'll conclude with that. The response. Are you sharing screen or something? Yeah, got it. Okay. You're taking too long. Can't see anything. Okay, I have. Yeah, please increase the size. Sachintayannitham atha shanodyatha munhe suto krato nirattas takshakhakyah sasadhumene nachirena takshaka nalam prasaktasya viraktikaranam. Translation, please. While the bird was thus repenting, while the king was thus repenting, he received news of his imminent death. So here Parikshit was already repenting. He has realized, I've done a mistake. Okay, let me ask this question to you. How many of you had an experience that you needed a third party to help you see your mistake in that situation? How many of you have that experience? Can you stop the screen sharing? Let's see what our audience sees. Screen sharing jo bhi kar rahe, stop kariye. I want to see the audience. How many of you among the audience have had an experience where you actually needed an additional support to help you see your mistake? How many of us? Please raise your hand. So it's not always easy to recognize I'm at mistake. Now Parishad Maharaj, when he was not even at mistake, according to Samika Rishi himself said, well, Parishad is not at mistake, he was thirsty, and out of that frustration, he put a dead snake. It was not a live snake. A dead snake is like a garland. What's the big deal? And वो तो ठंडा स्किन होता है सांप का. गर्मी में गया था ना परीक्षित महाराज. What's the big deal? कोई live snake थोड़ा डाला था. What was there to get cursed? So which means Parishad Maharaj don't even had to justify. It was proven that there is no fault. Yet he repented. So repentance is a quality of a Vaishnava. Non-devotees cannot repent. is a quality of a Vaishnava. Only Vaishnavas can repent, knowing that, because they're willing to accept mistake so that they can make improvement. Going back to the verse, who is showing the screen? Okay, please go back to the screen. So we were reading the translation. What did king do? He received the news of his imminent death, which would be due to the bite of a snake bird, occasioned by the curse spoken by the sage's son. The king accepted this as good news, for it would be the cause of his indifference, virakti, toward worldly things. Accepted as good news. We can stop it. It is not easy. It is not easy. It's very difficult. I have so many times I've seen devotees not accepting it. They think this is my life and soul. How? Anyways, so fine. So I'll pause here with the subject matter. We kind of covered up to summary we saw, and we saw it up to verse number 19. 20 onwards we'll see next time. Blame game, and then how to protect ourselves from blame game. And one of the exercises that we did during the course of discussion was how to cultivate gratitude. So some responses came like maintaining gratitude in general, expressing gratitude, and how do you, and third is the practical way is service attitudes. When you do your service, it's good still to take an opportunity once in a while to express gratitude. So I hope some of you will take this idea of gratitude in general seriously. Not only gratitude in general, we also talked about reflecting regularly, introspection. Very important for one to really realize about his level of consciousness. We are so quick to know about everyone, but we are so slow understanding ourselves. For those of us who struggle with knowing our own self and who have some different idea about ourselves, regardless of what others have to say and give a feedback, they got to stop everything else. They got to start thinking about on a regular basis what goes on in the mind, what mind thinks about it, what are my attachments, what I'm trying to defend, how lusty, how angry, how greedy, how proud, what are the parameters, what are the status of these parameters within me. We need to start, it's called self-talk, we need to start talking to ourselves, to help ourselves improve. With that, I'll pause here. Thank you for your kind attention. Guru Srila Prabhupada ki chai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki chai. Anyone has any question or comment, you can share now. Yes, Ashok Prabhu?
Why Nandi and Brahmanas are fighting with each other?
That's subject for next class. Note down. So you remind me why Nandi and Brahmanas are fighting. That's the subject matter for next class. Okay, nothing else. So we pause here. Thank you so much. Yes. Nikhil Prabhu.
One question. You were explaining about justification and clarification. Suppose any situation comes like that and the party in front is not ready to listen. So isn't it right to provide justification why I did that, or
Clarify that.
I mean, if any incident occurs and the party is in front of me, I mean, to which I am responsible. Suppose any task. Yeah. So yes. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it could be. Then Roji, I mean, why shall I not provide justification in that case? If there is
Why?
some genuine.
What? Why should?
Why shall I not provide justification if there was some genuine?
Yeah, I'm confused about your question here. Are you saying you are being corrected or you are correcting?
I'm being corrected.
You are being corrected. Now, as I said, now in the spiritual circle, I'm talking about it primarily. You can see that in modern world with your own capacity, but in spiritual circle. Now, when you're being corrected, our first response is defense. Now, when the correction has been given to you, correction has been given, and if it is given by senior, so at least this much faith we should have. The senior understands the weaknesses within me, which I am not able to see. And if he is expressing and explaining those weaknesses, how would I understand if I don't listen to him only? If I keep on justifying, saying that this, then how do I realize my mistake and how do I make a progress? So in that relationship, the subject matter of justification have no existence. First you hear and realize that what is your mistake. Okay? Now if you think it is about attitude is one thing, and if it is about seva, then you can think about if it is attitude, okay, then what else can you justify there? You can't justify, that is what it is. And then you have to listen. If it is about seva, some particular service, there could be other factors involved because of which you couldn't do that seva. And then we have been probably criticized for being lazy, whatnot, whatever it is. Then, and probably the senior may not know you were caught up in many other services. Then after everything is done, you can say, Prabhu, if you allow me, I would like to give you reasons why I couldn't do it. And it should be thoughtfully and properly presented. Being very careful and being very conscious that I'm willing to take correction, that mood should not be missed out. But if there is any sense or idea in while you're giving clarification, justification is you're trying to protect your false ego. If a senior is mature enough, he will not tolerate you. Is I get lost. I'm not here to pamper your false ego. My seva is to crush your false ego. Walk away. I don't want to spend your time. Whatever reasons you have to give why you couldn't do it is useless. So when you present your case, you say, why you should be, in a way, I'm willing to take correction, I'm willing to overcome my weaknesses. I couldn't do it because, we had guests, we had this and this, because of which I couldn't. So maybe, I need to learn how to improve my time management, something like that. But what you said is correct. Oh, why would somebody say anything like that? I mean, devotee community तो ना किसी को शौक पड़ा है दूसरों को डांटने का. Yes, no, it doesn't like that. That's not our subject matter. Okay, Nikhil Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Prabhu.
All right. So we pause here, I guess. I've taken questions from all. Hare Krishna. We conclude here, Abhishek.